Locked On Podcast Network presents Locked On Sports Today.
The 2026 Locked On NBA mock draft has arrived, and if our host picks are any indication, chaos is coming next week. Also, a trade for Giannis unfolds in the middle of our mock, leaving the Bucks with a pair of massive picks and the Warriors with one more chance at a title with Steph Curry. And yes, there are going to be teams willing to take a chance on Brendan Sorsby in the supplemental draft, but two teams in particular should be desperate to draft him. Today's episode brought to you by our friends at FanDuel. From the opening whistle of the World Cup to the final kick, let there be goals on FanDuel. Visit FanDuel.com to get started now.
I'm Peter Bukowski, starting your day with the can't-miss stories and biggest debates in sports. You're Locked On Sports Today.
Searching all major sports. Found.
Let's start with the biggest story.
Our NBA experts are primed and ready for the 2026 NBA draft with a mock draft of their own. Locked On NBA hosts Nick Angstad and Nathan Grubel took us through the first 5 picks of the mock with a bit of a surprise coming from the Clippers at number 5.
AJ DeBonsa, the number 1 pick. Nathan, this seems like this is what's going to happen in real life as well, but what do you think about the pick for the Wizards, the fit for it, and everything?
So this is absolutely what's been projected, what I would be projecting to happen in the 2026 NBA draft. I think the pick makes a lot of sense, in all honesty. You know, this Wizards front office has done an incredible job of building out this team in terms of versatility and depth at positions where you're not necessarily, you know, putting one player into a specific position and that's all that they can do. You have guys who can slide up and down the lineup, and AJ DeBonsa at 6'9" with 7'1" and wingspan, one of the more physical prospects that we have near the top of this draft, loves to drive, get downhill, create for others, can play out of the mid post. His whole identity will be about not only just being a lead shot taker, but also helping to make everyone else around him better and help the rest of this Washington Wizards team evaluate the other young pieces on this roster, along with new veteran additions in Trae Young and Anthony Davis. So when we're talking about taking the highest upside, that also makes the most sense from a roster perspective. I love this pick in particular for the Washington Wizards.
All right, Darren Peterson, this seems to be another consensus pick. I really like the fit with this. I think Darren Peterson works really well with the guys they have already, and I think there's a chance he's the best player in this draft, Nathan, like a high chance, because he's an incredible scorer. He can do a whole lot of things. There's just a lot of questions about him.
So Darren Peterson does have the chance to be the best pure scoring prospect that I've scouted in 15 years doing this. And that says a lot, because we've had some great players walk into the NBA right out of the gate. But there, in terms of tough shot makers, you know, Kansas had some moments where Darren Peterson went up against some really tough defensive schemes in the Big 12. They forced him into the shots they wanted him to take, and it wouldn't matter. He would just step in and knock them down effortlessly, even some really tough off the bounce looks. And that's built around Darren's game. He is a scorer first and he's a shooter second, but I will be very curious to see how he handles the rigors of the NBA from an on-ball pick and roll playmaking perspective. But the good news is the Utah Jazz, you know, and Coach Will Hardy, last year they ran the 3rd fewest ball screen possessions in the NBA per game. So, you know, this coaching staff, this team knows how to get guys who aren't necessarily as comfortable right out of the gate on the ball, like an Ace Bailey, for example. They know how to get those guys clean looks and possessions within the offense. I think it's an easy opportunity for Darren to come in, grow short term, and then long term, like we can talk about, he has one of the highest runways of any prospect in this class.
And considering Ace Bailey, they don't care if you want to go to Utah or not with Ace Bailey, right? With some of his workout stuff last year, they'll go with the guy. So I don't think they're afraid to take Darren Peterson here. Okay, Cam Boozer, that one's pretty obvious. This one seems like it's a match made in heaven. It feels like he's the type of player that will play for the Bulls. Or play for the Grizzlies. I can see him next to Zach Edey. I could see him playing in that system, and they kind of need somebody to build around. You think this is the best player of the draft, so this has got to be a steal for the Grizzlies, right?
When we're talking about what Memphis needs in this draft, they need an offensive identity, period, right? And there's a lot of people who would point to, well, they already drafted Zach Edey. Zach Edey has been on a permanent basis in the NBA since he came in, one of the more dominant players, but he hasn't even played 50% of available games since he's come into the NBA. Like, you can't necessarily count on him as the face of the franchise, at least not right now. Guys like Cedric Howard, Jalen Walls, they're great complementary players, but Cam Boozer, you can legitimately run an offense through him. He's not just a bully ball bruiser type of post player. He can take guys out on the perimeter. He can call for a ball screen. He can operate in isolation. He can draw two to the ball and make it plays for everyone else and make them around them better. He's one of the best transition hit-ahead passers that we have in this entire class. He can play with the ball in his hands. He can play away from it. He can spot up. You can put him in the corners, have him hit, catch and shoot threes at a very high level. Like the ways in which you can utilize Cam Boozer on offense are essentially endless. And then that the Memphis Grizzlies in particular on defense, there may be some questions about how him and Edey fit together. One thing that won't be a question, Nick, that team's going to be ferocious on the glass on both ends of the floor. They're going to be one of the hardest teams to deal with from a rebounding perspective.
Caleb Wilson, I think we went chalk. I think this is the way the top four is going to go, Nathan. Do you agree?
I would agree. I think if those first three players are off the board, in my opinion, there's no other way to go than Caleb Wilson, the forward out of North Carolina. He's arguably the most explosive athlete that we have in this entire draft. He has a motor that does not stop running. He's one of the best pure defensive playmakers that we have in this entire draft class. And then when you factor in, again, his size, his length, his athleticism, and his growing on-ball skill set in particular, as the season went on in North Carolina, he became a better mid-range shooter. He became a much better standstill passer, someone who can not only make shots for himself, but make some of those other players around him better. These forwards that can do a little bit of everything are a hot commodity in the NBA. And listen, if he rounds out and adds that three-point shot to his game, we could be talking about someone who may end up being one of the best players in this entire draft class, higher than even the three guys that went above him.
With the 5th pick, the LA Clippers select Mikel Brown Jr. because I feel as though he can be the best player long term. He's got more size than the Darius Acuffs. He's got an amazing shot-making ability. He can pass and finish with both hands. I feel as though long-term he has the biggest potential of being a superstar and not just a star. He has some concerns, the back injury, but we made the same mistake with Michael Porter Jr. in 2018. Ended up picking Jerome Robinson, who's out of the league. I feel as though Mikel Brown Jr. is the guy to take the Clippers forward the best.
Mikel Brown Jr., this is a name that's kind of been floating around in real life, and I think the guy of this next group of guards, I think that has the highest ceiling of any of them. And there's a couple questions about his back and about a couple other things about his efficiency and things like that. But what do you think about the pick for the Clippers?
Very interesting pick, something who all of the fans of No Ceilings at the Locked On Network who have been listening to us, since the lottery was finalized, I think we were one of the first groups that put out there that Mikel Brown Jr. could be in play for the Clippers. And as you said, Nick, that's some hot smoke that's been bubbling up recently. And listen, I think it's a great pick from an upside perspective, primarily because he does have the highest ceiling of any of these guards in this class. 6'5", good size on the ball, one of the more creative playmakers from a live dribble and live pass perspective, an electric shooter from downtown, has parking lot range. I mean, I don't want to make this comp and scare anybody. I'm not trying to talk about the negatives, but in terms of the positives, when LaMelo Ball was coming into the NBA, you thought a lot of the same things about this guy can just do things on the court on offense that other players in the class simply can't do. And I feel the same way about Mikel. I think he's got a great attitude, great work ethic. We had him in for a film session at No Ceilings. Tremendous kid, really understands who he is and where he needs to go as a player. I love the pick. I think it could be very nice upside swing for the Clippers.
Stay up to date all year on the NBA by subscribing to Locked On NBA on YouTube or your favorite podcast app. Your Locked On Sports today. Coming up, we're finally trading Giannis. Well, at least in our NBA mock draft. Before we get to that, the Jazz are trying to throw a bunch of money at Walker Kessler, but he doesn't seem interested. The biggest stage in world soccer is here, and every match feels like it has the potential for a memorable moment. One goal can completely change the energy of a game, shift momentum, and alter the outcome in an instant. That's what makes tournament soccer so exciting, from the opening whistle to the final kick. Now, FanDuel is giving fans another reason to stay locked into every match with Every Goal Pays. Bet on a match and get bonus bets for every goal scored in that match. More goals means more bonus bets. And all you have to do is turn on your token. We've all seen those matches where it's scoreless for what feels like forever, and then one goal completely flips the game. Suddenly, everyone's pressing. The crowd comes alive, and the final 20 minutes become must-watch television. And now you get the benefit from each goal scored. From the opening whistle to the final kick, let there be goals on FanDuel. Visit FanDuel.com to get started now. The Utah Jazz reportedly offered Walker Kessler a 5-year, $140 million deal, and Kessler, for reasons we can't fully explain, said no.
The Utah Jazz reportedly offered Walker Kessler a 5-year, $140 million deal, and Walker Kessler said no. Your mind just exploded. You're flabbergasted by this. On the surface, that reaction makes total sense. Let's, though, walk through the circumstances, the rules surrounding it, and why Walker Kessler would possibly say no, and what is really going on here. There are some facts here that are very clear. If you have any doubt whether the Utah Jazz believe Walker Kessler is an important part of their future, that's out the window. You know that to be true now. You should not have any doubts. Because if the Jazz offered Walker Kessler a 5-year, $140 million deal, they are interested in keeping Walker Kessler. That between 25 and 30 is probably a bigger number than fits nicely into the Jazz cap situation.
Over at Dallas minicamp, George Pickens is apparently going to be playing for the Cowboys.
I loved some of the answers that George Pickens gave on Tuesday to the media. Like an example, they asked him about, are you disappointed with not getting a long-term deal? And he said, no, what's important to me is winning. Like I said from the beginning, I always want to bring a Super Bowl to a group of guys that never had that feeling. That's really the most important part of me. Now, whether he was coached up on those answers, honestly, it doesn't matter. I just thought we saw a level of maturity from George Pickens. And this is what we've been talking about really all offseason. It's this kind of stuff, showing up for minicamp in shape, answering the right questions to the media, being accountable. That matters almost as much as his on-field performance when it comes to him getting that next big deal.
And Deion Sanders has plenty of ideas for fixing college football, but on one issue, he's not exactly leaving room for debate. With the Brendan Sorsby gambling case finally over, but still lingering in the Big 12 circles, Sanders said he has no interest in players betting on the very sport they're playing, asking pretty simply, you don't think something's wrong with that? Coach Prime also floated ideas like a salary cap for name, image, and likeness, a retired coach as commissioner, and even a 24-team playoff. But the gambling stance is his clearest one. College football may be changing fast with money everywhere and rules still trying to catch up. But Sanders' point is pretty simple. Once players are betting on the game, the sport is a much bigger problem than just who's getting paid. Our Locked On NBA host decided to make what could arguably be the biggest move of the entire offseason in the middle of their mock draft. The Bucks trading Giannis Antetokounmpo to the Golden State Warriors. Locked On NBA host Nick Angstad and Nathan Grubel break down the trade, who Milwaukee drafts to try and fill Giannis's shoes, and what this would mean for Golden State moving forward.
But there's an even more interesting trade that's happening. Hold on. Giannis Antetokounmpo has been traded to the Golden State Warriors. The Warriors get Giannis Antetokounmpo. The Bucks get Jimmy Butler, whatever they're going to get of him. I guess maybe he will never enter the facility ever as he recovers. Potentially, yeah. That injury. They get Brandon Bajemski, who I think returns to Milwaukee, and he's from there. Yep. For first, the 2026 first, so it's number 11. Then they get 2028, 2030, and 2032 from the Warriors. And 2 swaps in 2029 and 2031. Giannis going to go play with Steph Curry, with Draymond Green, and those guys. This is a monumental move, Nathan, just from an NBA perspective. Does this change anything in the Western Conference for you?
I don't know if it does, because we haven't seen Giannis actually play a full season healthy in quite some time. And now the Warriors have mortgaged their entire future. Like, I know that it's always been the running joke in the West of who can get as many Kings picks as they possibly can, but not from a mismanagement perspective, but like this Warriors team with Steph aging, with Draymond aging, we don't know how many years we're going to get left of those guys. Like, is there now a more valuable commodity than that treasure trove of Warriors picks that the Bucks just picked up? Like, I think if there was any offer on the table from any of these other teams calling in, like, this is most definitely the best that the Bucks could have done. Like, this is an A+ trade for a team out east. Like, hats off to the Bucks for picking up this bounty.
I do have reports that Miami offered something around Tyler Hero, Khalil Ware. They either Jovic or another one of their young guys picks as well. Mm-hmm. You would be more interested in the Warriors first round picks than you'd be interested in that Miami group.
I want the Warriors picks because, again, I don't know what the future of that team is going to be. I think with Miami sending Giannis into that infrastructure, like, we know that team always finds ways to remain competitive. It's not just about how many picks you can get, but it's about the value of those picks moving forward, especially in a climate where we continue to have the NIL landscape in college basketball shape this draft class, and the opportunities to find young talent are now just going to be closer and closer to the lottery to mid-first round, not the back end of the first round, where a lot of those Miami picks could have potentially fallen. So that to get the Warriors picks as many as they did and the swaps and another guy like Brandon Podziemski coming home to that state to be another one of these fun young combo guards, like I think Milwaukee did a great job.
The draft guy, of course, the draft guy wants more draft picks and wants more future picks.
Can you blame me?
I can't blame you. But now that means Milwaukee has the next 2 picks. They have 10 and now 11 because they get Miami's pick. So let's go to Miami. Let's go to Milwaukee. Let's go 2 in a row. Let's see who they decide to pick with 10 and 11.
With the 10th pick, the Milwaukee Bucks select the Axel Lendeborg out of the University of Michigan, filling what now is a glaring hole in the front court. The Bucks just need some more size. They're already team 6'4" in combo guard as it was. So John Horst and his front office looking to replenish that front court. Lendeborg, a player that can step in, help the Bucks immediately and play multiple positions for the now rebuilding Bucks as well. And with the 11th pick, the Milwaukee Bucks, by way of trading Giannis Antetokounmpo to the Golden State Warriors, swing big and they take Cameron Carr out of Baylor. Again, size, the important thing, in athleticism for this Bucks team. Carr, another player, may be a bit raw, but that's perfectly fine with a team that appears to be headed in a rebuilding direction. Has athleticism and a ton of size and length as well. All things that the Bucks have learned very, very recently you need in spades.
Stay up to date all year on the NBA draft by subscribing to Locked On NBA Draft on your favorite podcast app. Coming up, someone's got to take a chance on Brendan Sorsby, and there are some teams out there that should be desperate to do it. The NHL finals have finally wrapped up, but we saw how every shift mattered, how every moment was intense, and that everything came down to execution when the pressure was at its highest. And just like athletes have to be ready to perform when the puck drops, a lot of guys want that same sense of readiness and confidence in their own lives. That's where Rougiette comes in. Rougiette offers modern performance-focused treatments designed to help you be ready when it matters. Their top option, Rougiette Ready, is a fast-acting, clinically formulated treatment that comes in a simple mint that dissolves under your tongue. It's designed for convenience with fast absorption and effects that can begin in about 15 minutes and may last up to 36 hours. They also offer Go Long, which is formulated to support both performance and control for longer-lasting needs. It's all about helping guys feel prepared, confident, and in control. Most guys just want something that fits into their life without a lot of hassle. The idea of a small mint that dissolves and gets to work quickly makes it feel straightforward. The reality is most people don't want complicated routines. They want something that fits into real life and works without overthinking it. Head to Rougiette.com/LockedOnNHL and get 15% off your ED treatment. That's RUGIET.com/LockedOnNHL for 15% off. Rougiette, performance medicine for men. The NFL just got one of the most interesting supplemental draft prospects in decades dropped on their proverbial door, with quarterback Brendan Sorsby deciding to leave college. Locked On NFL host Tyler Rowland and Luke Braun believe that there are a number of teams that will be interested in Brendan Sorsby, but the Arizona Cardinals and Pittsburgh Steelers should be willing to risk the most to get it.
So how this works, if folks don't know, in the supplemental draft, you can take a player in the supplemental draft. It's a blind auction. So they say this player is available. They go through and every team puts what they would be willing to put. Hey, I'd be willing to spend a 3rd round pick. I'd be willing to spend a 5th round pick. And if you get the player based on the order that the NFL goes in, then you got to sacrifice that pick in next year's draft. So teams are basically bidding their 2027 draft picks if they go get Sorsby. That does make things a little bit complicated. And I know it may seem backwards, but Luke, for that reason, I don't think the Browns should do this. After they trade for Myles Garrett and get an additional 1st round pick, they have a ton of draft capital right now. I know that Sorsby is an option, but how often do these supplemental draft picks actually hit? Josh Gordon is a famous one that hit pretty good. There are a couple out there littered throughout NFL history, but the Browns have enough draft capital right now to get themselves the quarterback they actually want through the normal draft. And I don't think they should crowd their quarterback room even more for that. So for the Browns, actually, I would say they should not go after Sorsby.
I'm kind of with you. Like, yeah, they already have a bunch of kind of, we'll call them darts at the wall. And I feel like Sorsby would kind of be that, unless you're really, really high on him. You see him as like this 1st round talent. I think like this year, what would he would have been? QB3, QB4, something like that.
Hey, some people would argue QB2. I saw somebody
QB2,
saying the Rams should be mad because they would have taken him over Ty Simpson, I guess.
Sure. I don't really have a dog in that fight.
Yeah, I don't know.
I will say, when it comes to the supplemental draft, a lot of these situations are stuff like the Terrell Pryor situation from many years ago, where it's like an NCAA rules violation. You got an agent
usually not good.
To that kind of stuff. But usually it's stuff that an NFL team won't care about, right? Like, oh, you screwed with your eligibility, academic eligibility. We don't have grades in the NFL. We don't come to play school here, right?
Yeah.
So a lot of it is stuff an NFL team won't care about. This is something an NFL team will care about. And just so we're clear, this is a gambling scandal and a gambling addiction. That is a genuine concern, not only for his availability, but also just a concern over the person. That's a difficult thing to deal with. And you're taking on some of those problems. So that is going to, I think, depress his value. I'm with you on the Browns. They've got enough darts. If you're going to bring in a new quarterback, it needs to be the guy, like bar none. Wait for next round or wait for next draft and get one of these guys coming out that's supposed to be the guy and make him your guy and go with it. How about the Jets, though? They got 3 first-round picks. They got a ton of day 3 capital. They have, so if they want to spend their 3rd rounder or their 2nd rounder on a guy who maybe should be a top 50 quarterback, they still got 3 first-round picks. They're flush, right? They're doing great. And Geno Smith is not the future there at all, right? So I kind of like it for the Jets. I think I like it for the Cardinals just because, oh my God, do something, fight back, show life.
And finally, Tom Izzo is not exactly hiding how he feels about the state of Michigan State. After President Kevin Guskowitz left for Clemson, Athletic Director Jay Batt left for Kentucky after just 1 year, Izzo called the situation ridiculous, self-inflicted, and he's ashamed and disgusted. This is a coach who's been at Michigan State for more than 3 decades, won a national title there, and doesn't usually sound this publicly fed up unless something is really off. His message to Spartan Nation was pretty direct. Stop watching the dysfunction happen and start rallying together. Because when Tom Izzo is calling out the room, it usually means the room has gotten pretty messy. Coming up, the top 4 players in the NBA draft feel pretty set. Do we see any top prospects shockingly slide out of the lottery? So at least until tomorrow, stay locked on sports today.
Locked On Podcast Network presents Locked On Sports Today.